teleconference meeting with commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. So I would like to introduce the staff and commission members present. Commissioners present include myself, Jennifer Baskin, Jennifer Johnson, Christopher Harris, Peter Diepenbrock, Mark Bryman, and also Library and Community Services Director Sean Reinhart, Assistant Community Services Director Adrienne Lee Bird, and Staff Liaison Linda Mungia. Did I say your name correctly?
That's right.
Good. So up next on our agenda, in our regular meeting agenda, we have public comment. So the way we're operating here, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. So please clearly state your name and address of where you live, and the commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Do we have any public comments?
Yeah, so if anyone from the public would like to speak now about anything not on the agenda, go ahead and use your raise hand feature and I will unmute your microphone. Or you could also use the chat feature and I will read your public comment to the commission. Just give it a little bit more time to see. Okay, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. I'd also like to add Commissioner Sarah Staley-Shank has joined the meeting as well. All right, so up next on the agenda, we have presentations. We have the pickleball presentation, and once this presentation is done, we can ask for public comment after that.
Okay, Jim. Yeah, sorry. Jim, you've been made a panelist, so you're able to unmute yourself and turn on your webcam and share your screen as well.
There I unmuted. Is my webcam on? Start video.
Your webcam is not on. There we go.
How about now?
Yes.
There we go. Hello, everyone. Am I supposed to be speaking now?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Great. So as an introduction, I'm Jim Carson. I've been a Menlo Park resident for over 40 years, and frankly spent many of those 40 years on the Menlo Park tennis courts also. So that kind of gives me an intro into the topic today, which I want to talk about, which is pickleball and the opportunity for people, Menlo Park residents in particular, to play pickleball somewhere in Menlo Park. That's something we don't have the opportunity as of now. And in trying to keep everything efficient time-wise for you, I decided I'd like to break this up into kind of 3 parts: what, why, and how much will it cost? And let me start with the last one. How much will it cost? And since we're all on Zoom, we're all sitting down, $0 is the answer. So the what we're after and what we'd like to be able to accomplish is to get the city to take part in helping us with an opportunity to find a place to play pickleball within Menlo Park. And what we're going to propose, and I'll go into the details in a few moments, but what we're going to propose is using an existing facility, which is one of the tennis courts at Nealon Park. I assume everybody's familiar with that one on Middle Road there, Middle Avenue. Using one of those tennis courts and sort of reconfiguring things on a temporary basis to be able to use it for pickleball. Now, I'll come back to the details of that because I think it's important that we talk about the why. Why is pickleball so hot and why do people need a place to play? Kind of what's in it for us, the community. And right now, it's the fastest growing sport in America. It grew 650% in 6 years, and there's 3.3 million players nationwide. What I kind of like about it is it's an amazingly inclusive sport in terms of any age. People you can probably start at the age of 7 up through late seniors are playing it and enjoying it. It's extremely inclusive. They're starting to teach it in schools now, some of the middle schools and high schools. So teaching it to some of the younger people, and yet in terms of senior citizens, which I'm one and partial to, 60% of the participants are seniors and 40% are women. And we need to get that number higher, but frankly, that's higher than I think most sports are today, sadly so, but truthfully so. So as I try to put on a Menlo Park hat as a citizen, I assume that our commission would like to go after a mission perhaps of finding space or providing space for our residents to recreate and socially enjoy themselves. And one of the things about pickleball as a sport is it's pretty safe or space efficient. One tennis court can house 4 pickleball courts. And it's a game similar to tennis, so that means that if you're playing doubles, you'll have 16 pickleball players on 4 different matches and able to play pickleball at one time on one tennis court. Right now, most of us are playing in other cities nearby that have permanent facilities: Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Foster City. Portola Valley is just embarking, they're ahead of us, but they're embarking on kind of the same approach we are of converting some tennis courts, leading towards perhaps larger facilities, but it's a program that's gone real well. We estimate that we've got 50 to 100 current pickleball players in Menlo Park right now playing other places. And that's a rough number. It's tough to get a real accurate account on that, but it could be higher. It's doing very well. The Palo Alto situation is they have about 5 years ago started from ground zero, just using some tennis courts like we're proposing. And they've developed that into a Palo Alto Pickleball Club, which now has over 500 members. And they have 6 permanent courts, but they've also continued to use tennis courts and are able to do that quite well. Now, as a tennis player myself, I kind of work both sides of this fence, I guess. And I think it truly is a sport that you can have compatibility between the two with good communication and understanding and some good guidelines. So let me get back to the specifics of the what. At the Neyland courts, there is one court that is a lone court. For us to utilize it for pickleball, we'd like your commission's approval or permission to be able to mark lines, and we could do that with either removable paint or taping. We would provide the 4 nets. These are portable nets, so they can be taken up and down every day as required. The tennis nets stay there, so there's no loss of that. All the tennis lines stay there. So any lines we paint would be a different color to avoid any confusion. And to set up a trial period and just let's see how this goes. See if the enthusiasm is what we think it is, and see if we would get enough people able to use that court. Now, we would have to either have guidelines or rules or something on who has priority at what times of the day. Typically, pickleball players are most prevalent weekday mornings. which isn't necessarily the biggest tennis time anyhow. So I think something's pretty workable if you choose to want to make it to multiple use court. That's pretty much it, I guess. We're asking for your permission for us to move ahead and do that. And we'd like to know what might be the next step.
Thank you, Jim, for presenting on pickleball. It's definitely something we've spoken about before. And Linda, do we have any, at this point, we'll want to take some comments from the public. I see from the panelists, we do have some public comments if you'd like to.
Yes, so go ahead and use the raise hand feature if you would like to speak to the commission. Right now, I'm going to open the mic of Hayward Robinson. Okay, Hayward, you should be able to talk.
Now, hopefully you can hear me. And can you see me or just hear me? Or just the audio?
Just audio.
Okay. So I brought props. I brought my pickleball paddle, so I'm waving my pickleball paddle at you. And I'm also wearing my Palo Alto Pickleball Club pin, which says I'm a dues-paying member. And we really appreciate that the city of Palo Alto has done so much for the sport of pickleball and allowed, it really is a regional resource that they have invested in. And as you understand, of course, as the city of Menlo Park, it opens its facilities to dog parks and others that other people from outside the community use. So it is very nice to have that resource. But, you know, as a Menlo Park resident, yeah, I'm someone who's using the, you know, really benefiting from the investment that Palo Alto has done. And it'd be great if Menlo Park could do this. I think it's a very reasonable proposal that Jim's laid out. And I think you should strongly consider it. I'll just, as a little context, I used to be on this commission and heard many kinds of proposals like this. And we worked on and created the dog parks years ago. We also worked hard and created additional soccer fields and recreational things for folks. And then I went on to serve some time on the city council where I also continue to work on these things. And so these are great opportunities. This is a great opportunity that's come along. And I just want to throw my support behind it and give a big thumbs up. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Hayward. Do we have additional public comment? Linda, we can't hear you if you were mentioning another person.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
I believe Nate Gardner also wanted to talk. So Nate, you are open, your microphone is open as well. Nate, did you want to address the commission on this?
Sure. Oops, sorry about that. Oops, sorry about that. Oops, sorry about that. Wow.
Oh, oh. Maybe we can go back to him a little bit later. We'll try him again later. Let's see. I don't see any hands raised.
I see a hand
Oh, there we go,
raised.
Monica. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna unmute Monica. You should be able to address the commission now.
unmute there. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Hi, I'm Monica Williams. I'm the president of the Palo Alto Pickleball Club. I played tennis for 60 years until I discovered pickleball in Arizona about 6-7 years ago. Well, I just want to say that having a place to go to daily for exercise has kept many of us healthy, both physically and emotionally, especially because of the camaraderie that most pickleball players enjoy. It's a fantastic opportunity to have everybody in the community join this. It's a wonderful thing for a city to do for its community. Pickleball is easy to learn, inexpensive to play, and can be enjoyed by all ages. Many recreation departments all over the United States are aware of the benefits of pickleball and are researching ways to offer it in their communities. Please join Foster City, Sunnyvale, Mountain View, Portola Valley, and Palo Alto, and support painting lines to make 4 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court, creating multi-use courts for the community. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Monica, for your comments.
To remember to unmute myself. And David Yoshida, you should be able to unmute your microphone.
There, am I on? Hello.
Yes, we can hear
All right,
you.
so it's David and Hiroko Yoshida. I want you to know that we've been Menlo Park residents since 1975. We really love Menlo Park, and that's why we're here. We are also members of the Palo Alto Pickleball Club, and we play pickleball either in Palo Alto or Mountain View every day. And we'd love to see Menlo Park open up some pickleball courts. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Great. And I do see a public comment in the chat feature from Lil Johnson that says, I'm a big fan of pickleball and play regularly at Mitchell Park in Palo Alto, the closest facility. I'd love to be able to play here in Menlo Park. And I don't see any more hands raised. I'm going to try Nate Gardner again. I actually don't see him anymore. He might have left.
And Linda, could you tell people how to find the raised hand feature one more time if they're having trouble locating how to do that?
Yeah, oh, Amy Harris. Okay, so I do see a hand raised. Let's take Amy Harris and then I'll let everybody know. Okay. Amy, you should be able to unmute your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Great. Hi, I'm Amy Harris, and I've lived in Menlo Park for 25 years, and I've been a member of the Palo Alto Pickleball Club for a couple years, and Monica, who just spoke, is largely to blame for me falling in love with pickleball because I took a couple classes from her. It's very addictive, and it's really fun and easy to get competent at it quickly, not brilliant at it, but competent, and it's just super fun. And I live in Menlo Park and would love to be able to play locally if I could and not always take advantage of Palo Alto's hospitality. So I just want to add my opinion to this. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Amy.
Thank you. So Andrea also has her hand raised. Andrea, you should be able to unmute your microphone now.
Hi, my name is Andrea Balin. I am Nate Gardner's wife, and we were on 2 different calls, which is why there was all that echo.
Electronic interference.
Yes,
so
sorry about
apologize.
that. But we fully support this as well. We've been Menlo Park residents for about 26 years. We are both members of the Palo Alto Pickleball Club, and we just want to voice our support for Jim's proposal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea.
And David Weiss, you should be able to unmute your microphone.
Hi, Dave Weiss. I've only been a Menlo Park resident for a few years. Hi, Dave Weiss. I'm also a member of the Palo Alto Pickleball Club. I did move a couple years ago from Palo Alto to Menlo Park, and I'm definitely fully supportive of this. One thing I'd like to add is that I used to play recreational basketball many times a week, and it was kind of my only form of, other than pickleball, my only real true form of exercise, and it was, you know, a great social outlet. I'm not sure when we're going to be able to do that. It's going to be quite a while because of just the physical contact nature of basketball. I think that racket sports will be you know, a lot easier to get back into in a safe way. I just want to say that I think that now it's very timely that this is coming up, because if we were able to move forward with this, it would really provide a nice stopgap for people who just don't have, you know, can't participate in their other normal forms of exercise. Thanks.
Thank you, David.
And we do have 2 public comments in the chat feature, one from Patricia that says, I want to bring my support for more pickleball courts, please. And another one from Mary Kuo. Hi there, I won't speak because of the background noise for my kids, but if you could read my comment, please. I've been a resident of Menlo Park for over 20 years and started playing pickleball over a year ago. My boys, who are 10 and 5, have also played with me, and we play in Palo Alto. It is an addictive sport and children can also play. Please consider Jim's proposal. Thank you. And I don't see any more hands raised. And I don't see anything else in the chat feature.
Great, thank you. I want to thank everyone for their comments and their interest on this topic. I guess for clarification, Sean, Adrian, now that we're opening up to the commission's discussion, for some direction, are we looking to make a recommendation or pass any sort of
I think you would, I think we would have a discussion, and then you could ask the staff if, you know, you wanted to research it further. We could bring back information back to you. Things that we'd probably want to bring back would be, you know, of the sites within Menlo Park, which ones are the busiest? What are the rules around, and I can speak to this, and Todd is actually on the call too, but rules around reservations, and are residents prioritized over non-residents? While they said we could have 16, I think, you know, during this time of social distancing, for some cities who are allowing pickleball, you kind of spread people out, so you don't pack as many on right now. But it is true, you can get a lot more people on a court than tennis. So.
Okay, so the idea here is we sort of discuss the proposal, discuss pros and cons, brainstorm ideas, but really the idea is to decide how we want to move forward and how far, you know, how much more research we may need to work on for this.
Yes, if I could just jump in there, Chair Baskin, to Adrian, everything you said, absolutely. And this item right on the agenda is like just a presentation. So it's at this point, it's really just to kind of receive the information from the pickleball enthusiasts and players. And thank you, Mr. Carson, for that excellent conversation. And, you know, kind of give the public an opportunity to talk about it and express interest. And if the commission would like us to bring back an analysis, as Adrian mentioned, then we'd be happy to do that. Also, there could potentially be some costs associated with that, and we would bring that back with the analysis too.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Well, then I guess I'll kick it off and just say thank you very much. I love hearing with all the sort of negativity that's been out here and the things we can't do. I love hearing something that we can do and making use of a space and bringing back some physical and mental health and bringing something that may make people happy considering our constraints right now. So very well know the Nealon Park location. And I guess my support behind pickleball would be to identify those courts that, are probably underutilized during the times that were mentioned. And look at the costs associated with that. And just from my experience, I do know a lot of times during the time of day that Jim had mentioned, there isn't much use on the courts. I've been on actually using the courts for tennis quite a bit at random points in the middle of the day. And sometimes I'm the only one with the person I'm playing with. So I think that I'd be fully supportive of digging deeper into this and coming back with some analysis over where, what time, and the costs associated with it. But I love the idea that we are being inclusive. You could pretty much play from the age that you can pick up a racket to the age where you don't want to move around too much anymore. And that the offering is something that would make a creative use of a space that already exists. So those are just some of my thoughts around it. Does anyone else want to share some thoughts? Oh, hey, Mark, sorry, I saw your hand raised, sorry.
I just want to say that I've been a tennis player for a long, long time. I've also been a ping pong player for a long, long time. And I love this concept of pickleball because it's really both of those games in one. And I think we do owe it to our community to give the pickleball players and those who are not yet pickleball players an opportunity to do so. I think the question is simply where. I know that they're kind of angling towards Nealon, but I guess my question would be, which of the public courts in Menlo Park are the most underutilized and would give them an opportunity? They're really suggesting that we start with one court, which then could turn into four. The inclusionary aspect of it is fabulous. The density aspect of it is not so realistic right now. We've already sort of talked about that, right? So we're not gonna pack 16 people onto one tennis court right now. That said, it would seem to me that if there was any way to come up with data to speak to the use of the courts, we could better decide which court or even two courts where best we could sort of make use of that. I think it's a no-brainer. It's just a matter of doing a little bit of homework and figuring out where. I'm not sure that it's Nealon simply because Nealon has the most courts. I think maybe it may be two different places, a court here and a court there. But it seems to me that we should strongly consider it. That's it. Thanks.
I saw Peter also has comments.
Yeah. Well, first, just to address Mark's last comment, I mean, one of the things that is special about the different places and different communities that do pickleball is that it is a social gathering. Yes, people are getting exercise and playing, but it is, so the idea of two different sites really isn't how it works. But I do like your idea of, I don't know, a different place, like, I don't know, just throwing someplace out there like La Entrada that would have two courts that, might have more space for pickleball. So that's definitely something to consider. I do have a question for Jim, just if you could clarify. You did say that it's no cost, but obviously we need nets and the taping. So can you just kind of address what you, yeah.
Certainly at this point in time, and we're proposing a trial. I mean, we want the city to be convinced that it will be utilized, not just that it's a good program, but that it's going to be utilized by our residents. So we're proposing a trial of maybe 6 months or 9 months, and something we can kind of monitor. During that period, Palo Alto will loan us free nets, and Palo Alto will help us incur ourselves the cost of temporary paint or taping. And what you do is you go perpendicular to the flow of a tennis court with cross courts. You make the lines a little bit different colors so you can still leave them both there. And the costs are quite minimal. So we're not proposing to pass on any cost at this point to the city. If it grows and becomes something bigger, who knows? We're trying not to jump ahead. We're trying to take a first step.
Thanks, Jim.
Jennifer?
Hi. Jim, thank you very much for your presentation and having given thought to all of these issues in advance. That's very helpful. I agree. I don't play pickleball myself, but I have been around pickleball enthusiasts, and it definitely seems to be a community event. And I think it would be great to be able to honor that and have, at least during this trial to start, a single location, so that community can grow in Menlo Park. And Jim, you did a great job in terms of getting some support for this trial period. I imagine that there would be some city costs because probably somebody who works for the city would have to do the painting or taping rather than a resident. But it doesn't sound like this is an outlandish cost.
Well,
and
we're proposing we would do that taping or painting. But go
for
ahead.
what I'm sure Adrian and Sean can speak to this, but I'm guessing for liability reasons, you're probably not allowed to. But it's
we
still,
would bring that back with analysis. Yeah.
Sure, but but even with that, it still is sounds like a relatively minor cost,
Okay.
compared to some of the other things that get brought to us. I am very much in support of this. I know we mentioned this the last time it was brought to us, that we were surprised that we didn't hear about it during the master plan process. I think a few people put in comments about pickleball, and the reason that we didn't include it as a priority was that it didn't have, there weren't enough comments about it that it got the frequency and density to rise to a cutoff level for us. But if people are getting exercise and it's a community building activity, I think it's wonderful.
Do we have any other comments from the
Hey,
commission?
it's Sarah. The only other thing I would say is thank you again for the presentation. I think, as we move forward as a team, I just wanted Jim, you and your pickleball colleagues to know that we're in our annual planning phase, and one of our key focus areas is to really make sure that we are creating a community of inclusivity and providing a diversity of offerings. And I really love the fact of how both this offering, which is free, as well as multi-generational, really speaks to that. So while there certainly isn't anything here tonight that you'll hear us sort of making a movement or acting on, I do think it's certainly something, pickleball and programs like this will be something that will really sort of come to the top of our conversation as we're looking for offerings that have little to no price point, as well as offer both mental and physical opportunities for all generations. So I just wanted to thank you for that and let you know how we both qualify and quantify what you're bringing to us today. I just think it's always helpful for people to know sort of what comes next, and I wanted to share that lens with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And if there are follow-up questions, get them to me or through Peter. He can find me, and we'll be glad to help try to move down this road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If I could just add from the staff's perspective, Adrian and I would be happy to connect with you, Mr. Carson, and kind of talk through some of the details as we prepare our report and some options for the commission to consider next month.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Should I bow out?
Yes, I think you can now.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Linda, can we move on to presentation D2?
I see another public comment in the chat feature. I don't know, could I read it now? From Kathy?
I think that makes sense.
Okay, I'm very supportive of this proposal. I'm a Palo Alto resident and play and teach pickleball on the courts in Palo Alto. I'm happy to come to Menlo Park to help new players get started. We can start with quote unquote skinny singles to keep the density of the courts lower.
That's great. Well, I really appreciate it. It's great to see so many attendees in support of one of our presentations during this time, especially a virtual meeting. Appreciate it. So if we can move on to D2, the sports groups and field rentals reactivation presentation. I think we have Todd joining us, right?
Yes.
Hi, Todd.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Good to see everybody. I don't think I've seen anybody since March, maybe. I think, Jennifer, I saw you in the Safeway parking lot not too long ago. And all right, well, I am ready to talk about our reactivation of our sports fields and groups, and definitely take any questions that you have either along the way or at the end. I'm going to share my screen, Linda. And we are going to go to this one. There we go. Can everybody see that up there? Okay, good.
Yes, and before you get started, Todd, maybe just quickly introduce yourself for the folks who don't know you yet.
Oh, yeah, sure. I am Todd Zio. I'm the recreation supervisor and oversee youth and adult sports, obviously the field allocations, the ARC, the recreation center, the pool area, and yeah, I think that's it. Also special events as well. So sorry, my dog went in the backyard. He started to bark, threw me off my game there a little bit, but he should be fine. Okay, all right, we are going to start. So I've got about 5 slides here to go over, and the first one, of course, I didn't really think that we needed a lot of background about why we're closed or anything like that. Everybody understands that the COVID-19 pandemic that has really, shut down all recreation in the country. We're not unlike any other place in the country that has been affected. So locally, the city of Menlo Park, it follows the San Mateo County Health Order and also our local health orders, which may or may not be more restrictive. But as we progressed throughout the summer from a very restrictive lockdown through the period of May and June, where the state opened up a little bit, where they allowed summer camp to take place, we were able to do outdoor recreation, outdoor summer camps this summer. So we had some tennis camps, we had some high five sports summer camps. Those were very restrictive by, again, San Mateo County Health Order, which we followed. They had groups of 12 kids at the max. They needed to be 3 weeks. The kids needed to be all in the same social bubble, so to speak. And so that was the June, July, early August phase of kind of reopening. All along, we've been talking with all of our approved user groups that you all know and see once a year when we approve them. And we know that games and traditional practices are not allowed by the health order. And again, that's up and down. I think that's basically the whole state of California. So what the health order did decide or did allow for was skills training that would be able to be done by groups. And so real quick, I just want to talk about what the health order allows. So they allow groups of 12, no shared equipment, which is a challenging one. Social distancing is required. Like I said, traditional practice and no games are not allowed, just the skills training. And then also the California Department of Health put out youth sports guidelines on August 3rd. And we were maybe about a week ahead of them. And basically we were following all the guidelines that the health department, or the California Department of Health put forward. Going forward, so we created, and Sean was really a driver in this, working with our city manager team. We created safety protocols for the use of outdoor facilities. And I just kind of took that right from the form for you guys to see. One of the big things is that all participants are now required to wear masks unless they are actually recreating. Coaches, trainers are required to wear masks at all times. So we put together this health and safety plan, and we use that to guide us with our other, with basically our approved user groups, or actually any rental group that came to us and said, I want to rent field space. Because we were getting those requests, our user groups were figuring out if they could play or not. And so here's the guiding principle or policies that we sent them. We sent this to them. They put together their plans. A lot of the bigger groups have national organizations that they could rely on to help write their own health and safety plans, which was very good for them, because it was, when they returned their information, their plans to us, they were all very professional. They're very thorough in terms of covering not only the skills that they would train for, but also their health and safety protocols that each group would have. So we're very excited about being able to do this outdoor recreation. It's because I should mention, right, that indoor recreation is still closed for now and for the foreseeable future. We don't know when that's going to open up. So we're very, very excited to do the outdoor recreation. So just real quick, these are our 2020 approved user groups that the Park and Rec Commission approved last fall and winter. And I just want to show you this and let you know that baseball, Menlo Atherton Little League, the Alpine West Little League, they both decided that based on the health order and the rules that they could not run a fall program. Baseball may be the toughest sport because of the shared ball with the baseball. That was the word that we were getting back from them. So the next two groups are Ayso Soccer and the Alpine Strikers Soccer. Both have submitted and plans have been approved to return. Right now, the Strikers are out on the fields doing their skills training. Ayso Soccer is still trying to decide if they can pull it all together. for the fall, but they are approved. So I think my personal opinion is that the Strikers have soccer coaches that they pay. AYSO has volunteer parents, and it may be I think they're finding it's a little more difficult to pull that together. That's a little bit of the word that we're hearing back, but they haven't totally canceled yet. So moving forward, the next two groups, the Menlo Atherton Women's Soccer League and the Association de Football Soccer League, those are both men's and women's soccer groups. They play games only, so they are not currently doing anything at this time. We don't expect them to submit any health and safety plans. The next group is Extreme Baseball, and Extreme Baseball is a travel baseball group, and they have submitted a health and safety plan, and they went the extra mile to ensure that there would not be any sharing of equipment, with kids being responsible to bring their own baseballs, their own bats, all that stuff would be their own. And so they are approved to be out on the fields, and they are starting their program. If they haven't, I think they may have started this week, I think. The next two groups on the right-hand column, Mid-Penn High School, they are not doing anything because high school is virtual learning still, and they won't be having any sports programs. The last that I heard, the California Interscholastic Federation, the CIF, the earliest they're talking about for high school sports is to come back in January, with maybe some practicing in December. I think that's tentative, nothing official, things could change. The last group is the MA Grizzlies Lacrosse, and the lacrosse group, they have submitted their health and safety plan and approved, and they are doing lacrosse training skills out on the fields. I will go forward to the last slide to see the groups that are approved. So there, in addition to the approved user groups, there are 3 additional groups that have been approved. The first is Bulldog Sports and Fitness, and Bulldog is a locally owned fitness company, and they will be doing youth athletic training, fitness and/or skills. They take care of kids from about the age of 8 to 18, and so he's starting out at Nealon Park on Monday. And the next 2 groups are 2 additional lacrosse groups. They also submitted health and safety plans, and they will be using some of the fields. The NorCal Rise lacrosse group will be using Kelly Park. That's the only group that's using Kelly this fall, which is normally our busiest field because of the lights and because of its artificial turf. But the other groups are being accommodated at the other fields in town, basically from Willow Park west, including Hillview, which is an artificial turf field, so it gets a lot of use, but Hillview does not have lights. So I just wanted to put out here that if any of the commissioners are talking to any groups or organizations that want to be out on the fields this fall, they should contact Jared Harden, who many of you know, and Jared's email is right there on the screen for you. That's the best way to get him quickly because he's checking emails on a regular basis over voicemails. And he will respond to them and get them the information that they need to put their health and safety plans together for the fall session. That kind of wraps it up. I'll definitely take questions, and I will say that we are basically going through the fall with this, and at any time, because of either health restrictions, either tightening or loosening, we may have to make adjustments to this. I think everybody is completely aware of that, that are using the field. So hopefully we can get through the fall, and then we'll see about the winter and the spring. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Todd. At this point, do we have any comments from the public?
Yes, if anyone would like to address the commission on this item, feel free to raise your hand or use the chat feature. I don't see anybody.
Todd, one clarification on this, and I brought this up with Adrian. I might have mentioned this. Has there been, I know that, has there been communication between all the user groups that have previously used our spaces and staff as to, I don't want to say like, when you mentioned some of these user groups are national or larger and they have these guidelines that they can come to you with a proposal that looks, you know, more robust versus other ones that are more sort of individual proprietors or people that just don't have it together. Is there any sort of resource that we could direct them to and say, like, these are the guys, this is what a good proposal would look like to help encourage them to create a program that could use the space? I guess more of the question I'm getting at is, rather than people coming to us with proposals that we either yay or nay, is there a way that we're able to work with them or help provide some resources to help them get to a place of yes? I'm thinking about this in terms of two reasons. One, as a parent of 3 children who need these programs, I'm finding there are very few of them in Menlo Park, and there are offerings in places like Los Altos or neighboring communities that are a bit far for us to go to, but they exist. And then just secondly, as a source of revenue and a source of physical activity for people.
Yeah, sure. I can speak to that, and then if Sean and Adrian want to maybe step in as well. So as we were, the timeline of the summer was going on and we were figuring this all out on the fly, so to speak, right? The very first group that got a health and safety plan in, when I say national, is the Alpine Strikers Soccer Club, right? And they have the resources of national soccer organizations. And they put together a great plan. Anybody that has asked, we have how to do it and how to submit a plan. We have given that plan to them as an example. Okay. And the other thing that we've done is to share the policies which we created as well, that says if you can follow these 8 guidelines, that's going to get you to yes. And we've, on an individual basis, both Jared and myself have talked to multiple groups about the difference between practice and games and skills training, right? That's kind of that's a one-on-one conversation that we found. And people, you know, I'll give you extreme baseball as an example, right? They went through about 4 iterations of their plan before Jared and I said, okay, it's good to look for approval, because they wanted to do batting practice. They didn't really have the idea about the shared equipment in mind. And that's probably been the biggest one with the groups, is the shared equipment rule, right? Because all sports are, you're throwing a ball, you're hitting a ball, you're kicking the ball, and how to accommodate that. So the fact that it's skills training makes it a little bit easier, because you can kind of require people to have their own equipment. There has not been any group that's inquired that we've said no to yet. There are a couple of cross-country groups that are normally not groups that we're working with because they're on their own. They have come forward, and we actually just talked about this the other day, and we're trying to get them to yes right now as well. Because with cross-country, there's a little bit more, and Sean is aware of this, running in single file, and how, you know, if you have a mask on, that the droplets can still, you know, come out. And so single file running is maybe something that they're used to doing, that's not required, that they can't do under the current plan. So we're trying to get them to modify their program so that we get them to a yes as well.
That's great to hear. Thank you. Thanks.
And if I could just add to that, first of all, I just really want to commend Todd and Jared in particular for working with groups to, you know, try to get opportunities out there for outdoor recreation, you know, in an organized way. Obviously, there's a lot of passive recreation folks can do because the parks are open, but also to do it in a way that's safe, that sort of contributes to the effort to stop the spread of the pandemic so that we can all emerge from this. And also to be in compliance with like the county health order. So like the cross-country example, and it seems like it's not something that, might occur to folks right away, like the details of some of these orders, but that particular health order does contain some very specific call-outs about running and cycling, and about like being in a single file, the masks need to be on. But the preference would be to not have to wear the mask in some cases, especially with youth. So it just takes a little like thinking through how to do it differently and to help those groups kind of do that. And Todd and Jared have been doing a great job there. And as we sort of moved through the summer, just looking at sort of cautiously continuing to expand the offerings into new areas, like the pools opened pretty early on. The skate park kind of came next. Worked through some issues there. There was a little crowding there. I think it's still sometimes kind of full over there, and it's continuing to expand it. And so I'm very pleased under the circumstances that we're even able to offer something, and that we're even talking about expanding into other areas like pickleball, which is great. And so again, I just think Todd and Jared have done a wonderful job to kind of just balance all of that in a very unusual and challenging circumstance.
And I just want to confirm that communication was sent to the various rental groups by Todd and Jared. But if there is a group that needs additional information, if you can let us know, we'll definitely reach out.
Jennifer?
Hey, Todd. Oh, can I ask a couple questions? Todd, I have some questions. So one of the things that I know about is that you have the lavatory issue, and I know that just comes down to sort of protocol, but like bathrooms per group and different pods of like, is that a limiting factor for us as it relates to field use, so that we have enough sort of compliant lavatory usage?
Yes. So that was an issue earlier in the summer with the health order, but the city went ahead and opened up the public restrooms at Burgess and at Nealon. And so we don't have that type of restriction or issue right now. There are some cities that made each group bring their own porta potty if they were running a camp, but we did not run into that issue because the public restrooms are open.
Mm-hmm. Have we, so what would you say that we are at as it relates to field use past versus present threshold? Like, are we meeting our numbers? Do we have a new sort of quantitative goal that we have that it would be safe?
Yeah, so the quick answer is because we are just still allocating out the fields, we do not have a final total on what our capacity will be, like with hours and revenue. Because there are no games going on, I expect that we're going to come in maybe around 30% of capacity. So definitely not near our numbers. In about a month, I'll probably have a better handle on our full rentals, and then we can prepare a report that says we're using this many hours, and then with the cost, we expect to get this much revenue.
I'll ask my last question, then JJ, it's yours. My last question is, are we creatively thinking about our field use? So for the number of classes that and recreational offerings that we typically have seasonally with many different groups, whether it's dance or arts and crafts or workout groups, do we have the means in place, and have we proactively gone to those groups to say, hey, can we consider an outdoor application of your offering in a way that we can sustain our relationship?
Yes, and I didn't make that part of my report tonight because I was focusing on just the fields and the user groups. But all of my coordinators who have contractors that do dance and jujitsu and things like that, they have all been approached. And we've got jujitsu going. Over at Kelly Park, we've got the Aztec Dancers going. I think they're a rental, not a contractor. They've switched over the years. But there are a number of things that are going. Kids Love Soccer is finalizing their offerings as well for the fall. They were held up on the soccer ball issue, making sure that the young child brought his own soccer ball. So they're trying to work that out. But yes, we are also not only using the outdoor fields, we are using the recreation center, the ARC, and we're using the patio. One side of the patio, it's kind of like an L. One of the patios is covered with a big tarp, and we purchased another tarp so that the other side can be going as well. And we also have social distancing in there. There's squares. There's social distancing squares that have been taped down onto the floor for these instructors to use.
Thank you.
Jennifer?
I have a question, if that's okay. Todd, thanks for the presentation. That's great, and it's clear that I think all of us, inclusive of the groups themselves, we want to get back to as close to normal as possible. I just want to clarify that there are no games happening. And so basically when we're talking about soccer or lacrosse, which I think can be considered a contact sports in some respects, we're really only talking about sort of skill improvement so that each player is bringing their own ball. They aren't clashing. They aren't playing the game. So am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that is correct. Soccer, all the soccer groups have their own social distancing circles or squares on the fields, and as well as lacrosse. And so there is no traditional practice, no games. It's all skills-based training. That's what's allowed by the health order. And so it's very unique in the way that they're going about their programs.
And are they required during that to wear masks or no?
The coaches need to wear masks at all times. The players need to wear masks except when they're actually recreating basically in their social distancing circles.
I see. So they're not having to wear masks, but they're distanced and they're not contacting each other.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Usually they wear them onto the field and then they take them off and then they wear them back on as they exit.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't actual contact during these contact sports.
Yeah, and actually, if I could just jump in on that, we have kind of had to tussle with some issues of like unauthorized field users, where like a full-blown like team gets out there on the field without us really having any permission structure that they've sought, and just like full-on running scrimmages and things like that. And so if that is not one of the approved activities, it's not in compliance with the health order. And so, when those things are observed, it's helpful for us to get a heads up so that we can just go out and let folks know. Oftentimes it's that, they weren't aware of the restrictions. Other times, they maybe were aware and they're still kind of giving it a shot. So, yeah, any kind of like contact or shared, ball, things like that, currently not going on. It's really just running drills solo.
Jennifer, do you still have a question too?
I do. Todd, I realize that this is not going to be an issue now, but I thought potentially planning for the spring and hoping things get better and we have more use and more ability to use services. I recall that we had a commission meeting, well, it was pre-March, when there were some parents from some of the youth sports groups who were quite upset that there were Menlo Park youth residents who were not being able to play on Menlo Park fields, while user groups that are not based in Menlo Park and don't have Menlo Park residents were given priority. And my understanding was that either staff or as a commission, that there was going to be a discussion about the prioritization of user groups.
Yes, so the big issue is that we don't have baseball fields for 13-year-olds to play on. And that was the issue with this particular team, is that we don't have, the only field is Burgess, and we modify Nealon. So we, sorry about that, in the pandemic times, right when it was starting, we were working that out with the groups, and we had figured out how to make it work. So all the groups meet the Menlo Park residency requirements over 50%, all the approved user groups. And so what this particular group, right, they're an older group of kids who we don't have enough fields to meet our demand, right? So because a couple of years ago, Little League Baseball extended the age from 12 years old up until 14. So that made the need for these fields that are larger in size to now become in use. So Alpine West Little League, 5 years ago, they didn't have any 13 or 14-year-olds playing. Now the rules of Little League allow for these kids to play, and they need the bigger diamonds, and we don't have enough space to accommodate those fields.
But don't we have adult baseball groups?
No, we do not have any adult baseball groups.
Extreme baseball is not.
So Extreme Baseball is a youth baseball group. So they're a travel baseball group.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not a traditional Little League. They play competitive baseball where they're traveling on the weekends. People know that. So they are akin to the Strikers, right? Ayso is the local recreational soccer group. The Strikers are the competitive version of that. Alpine West Little League or Menlo Atherton Little League, they are the local recreational Little League. Extreme is the competitive baseball version of that. And they only play with kids that are 13 and 14.
Okay, so you said that some adjustments were made. I'm just curious because I anticipate this. I anticipate the likelihood of this question coming up again, and I understand as a parent that you'd rather have your kids' activity locally. And I mean, I know I'd prefer to have my kids' activity locally, and if I had to go to an activity, have that be out of town rather than vice versa. For a couple of different reasons. But have there been modifications to the field made so that they would be able to accommodate the 13 and 14-year-olds, or you came to an agreement with the group? I'm not sure what you meant by that.
So yeah, sorry, I didn't explain it very well. So we came to an agreement between Extreme Baseball and so basically it was not all of Alpine West Little League. It was one team in the whole organization. So as we normally we allocate out the fields to the organization rather than the individual teams. So after the fields were allocated, this team came back and said, we don't have any place to play. We have to play out of town because of the way the fields were allocated. So we went back and now dug deeper onto that next level with Extreme, and we were able to change some times around, a couple of the dates around. We realized that the group only needed, if I'm going by memory here, they only needed 6 dates from April to June. They didn't need every Tuesday from April to June. So as we were able to dig into the details, we were able to come up with a compromise for all the groups, or for
Okay,
both,
great.
for the one team and then the organization. And can it happen in the future? Yes, it could happen again in the future. And I still think that the way that we do our field allocations with working with all the groups and knowing that we only have a set amount of field space for everybody, that we always, my 9 out of the 10 years, we never had that problem. It was this particular year. And if they don't have as many kids playing in the next couple of years, we may not have that problem. Those particular kids are now on to the next level. They've aged out, so to speak.
Okay, thanks. It's nice to hear that, because we tend to hear the initial issue being brought to us, and sometimes we don't hear the resolution. So I'm glad that was able to be accommodated.
And at the end of the day, they never ended up playing at all because of COVID. But it was okay, it was solved.
Well, thank you, Todd. I appreciate it.
Hi, Adrian.
Hi. Todd, can you just refresh or remind folks of what month you do the field allocations and what month you approve the user groups, just in case, so they know for the future?
Yeah. So we do the we do the approving of the user groups either November or December meeting, just depends. Sometimes there hasn't been a November meeting because of Thanksgiving. So either November, December. We usually start taking applications in September. I haven't gotten any emails about any new groups. I haven't thought about it too much, but I'm assuming we will probably just roll groups over as we go into next year unless something changes. But we'll certainly dig into that during the fall. And we do field allocations twice a year. We do them in January for the spring, and then we do them in July for the fall.
Todd, it sounds like though we're low. So are we not having rolling admissions right now if people come to us and we have the capacity for it?
I'm not sure I understood your question. Are you saying we're low in terms of the number of user groups? Like, we would be able to accept more user groups.
That's what I am saying.
Yeah, right. The way it's always worked is if we've had over my 10 years, we've had a few groups come on, we've had a few groups fall off for various reasons. But we will always, we've always taken applications for new groups, and typically they've all met the requirements and they've become a probationary user group for the first year.
So my question is if somebody came to you tomorrow and said, I wanted to join for the fall, could they do that?
So no, because the user groups that we approved are for the whole year of 2020. So the way the prioritization works, so all the user groups will have first priority for 2020. If somebody calls and just wants to rent the field, then they're in the renter category. After we allocate the fields out for the fall, which we've now already done, then we know what we have left over for space, and we can take care of those individual renters as they call every day.
So I don't understand. What's the difference in the groups that we have versus a renter?
Right. So let's see if I can say it clearer. So all the user groups that you all approve at the end of the year, they are following the council policy for sports field allocations, right? So the council has declared that all the approved user groups get the first priority for field allocations for both the spring and the summer. So basically for 1 year. Once we take care of all their requests, then we take the renters on a first come, first served basis and rent them fields that are available that haven't been taken by the user groups.
Todd, quick clarification. If the approved user groups, they submit a schedule, do they? So they give you an idea of when they're going to want to use the fields, right?
Right.
If in fact they haven't suggested something, and a renter comes along and says, we'd like to use the field, and you say, okay, it's this day, and they're thinking about it, is it just kind of first come, first served? In other words, if the approved user comes and says to you later, oh, we want that day, it's basically whoever asked for it first.
Right. So Jared, like almost his full-time job normally is allocating out the sports field. So he's in daily communication with all the groups, right? So when we do the allocation, let's use the spring for an example. So we ask for all their requests for their fields. Let's say January 1st, they need to turn it in. Then we have a field allocation meeting January 15th, and that's where we make the sausage. We're sitting in the room for 2 or 3 hours, and we're going back and forth, and we're horse trading and soccer trades with baseball and lacrosse, because they all want all the fields, right? And they all, and there's multiple use fields. And so that's the night we make all the sausage and we get it all worked out. We try to make everybody happy, and that usually works out very well. Then we say, okay, it's January 15th. We're going to give you till January 29th, 2 weeks from now. We're going to give you the option to change, add, delete any fields that you want. After that date, we open it up to everybody.
That's helpful to know. I think that a lot of it's probably definition and prioritization. For me, it's just a matter of needing to understand. I think that a lot of what we're discussing is based in a typical world scenario, and so there's just an understanding that I keep trying to get at, which is, okay, we said that these were preferred groups. We are now in a new world order, and so trying to understand in today's world order, are we making sure that we're being mindful of how everybody is trying to deal with compliance, a new definition of activity that is sustainable, compliant by our standards, compliant by their own standards, and that we proactively are letting people know, which it sounds like we are through this whole sort of renter definition, that if you still would like to make use of our space, that opportunity exists, and that those openings are there. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, so we did the fall field allocation process as normal. We did that in July. And again, we followed those dates, and then people requested the fields, and then like baseball canceled because they decided they didn't want to do it. So right now, as of today, if you're a renter, you call up and want to rent the field, we will tell you if the field is available, and then we will let you know about the health and safety protocols that you have to follow. And once those are approved, you can use the field. And 2 examples of that are the 2 lacrosse groups, the Rise, NorCal Rise, and the Advanced Lacrosse. They're not approved user groups for 2020, but they are renters and approved renters because they followed the health and safety protocols.
Great, thanks, Todd. If there's no other questions or clarification, we can move on to the next item.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you
Hope to
so
see you all in
much.
person
Good to
soon.
see you again, Todd.
All right, bye-bye.
Todd.
Bye. Thank you for all your hard work.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye. So the next item, we have the work plan amendments for 2020-2021. I see, Adrienne, you sent out.
And Linda can project it, actually.
Okay, great.
And so just a reminder, so we approved the achievements last meeting, and we will be sending them to the council. These are going to be our goals for 2021. We actually worked on them in March. I can't believe it was so long ago. And we kind of went around on big flip charts and wordsmith different goals. Things are a little bit have changed, right, since the shelter in place, and also some of the the focus on equity, these days, it's something else we'd want to look at. So we also added from that meeting a goal on communication. So what I have included here are Commissioner Johnson actually helped revise the equity goal, equity and inclusion goal #1. So the top portion was the previous. The second version is what she wordsmithed, and then Commissioner Schenk also had some comments on that. And then the other two changes to our goals were an updated goal on facilities, which Chair Baskin provided. And then lastly, Commissioner Schenk helped us with the communication goal. So for this to finalize our goals for 2021, we'll actually not include the achievements, but they're still on here, so that kind of giving an idea of what was accomplished in the previous year. But tonight is really to refine the I think it's five goals, and make sure that's covering everything we'd like to cover and are still worded are relevant to today.
Does anyone have comments or feedback they want to propose to any of the goals and some of the new language that we've brought forth? Hey, Christopher.
Hey there. So I was reading through them, and goal 1 and goal 3 have some similarities. And I'm curious about how we're thinking that they are actually different. And so #1 is improve programs and services, right? And #3 is improve class and program offerings, venues, partnerships, and sponsorships to increase quality and accessibility and so forth. And so how do we, I took a look underneath to see what had been slotted in there before. And in both places, there's some similarities, right, in what goes in. So what's the difference between improving in 3 and improving in 1? I guess that's my question. And if they're not so different, can we combine them, or should we?
Yeah, I think the spirit of just why we had 1 and 3, because I feel we've had these before, was 1 was much more focused on equity, being location, ability, age, just all of that. And the other one had more of a sort of cultural and partnership and enrichment sort of arm to it. But I agree with you. As we've expanded the verbiage, they've started to blend. Sorry, that was my 2 cents. Jennifer?
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that interpretation. So what I see goal #1 about making sure that we're serving all of the residents in Menlo Park, regardless of where you live, what your abilities are, how old you are. And I see #3 as more of a, whatever we're doing, we want to make sure we're doing the best of it. So I see #3 as let's make sure we have the best gymnastics classes and the best dance classes. And #1 being, let's make sure we have a class for seniors. Let's make sure we have a class for people with special needs or disabilities, that kind of thing. And I think that we could work on the wording, because I do understand your point very well, to make those, I guess, more clear that they are different. But that's my opinion.
It seems like in #1, providing high quality, well, I think we want to provide high quality regardless, right? So really, as you suggested, Jennifer, and both Jennifers, equitability aspect of it is really what we seem to be aiming towards, right? The inclusiveness, the equitability. So maybe we just need to tighten up the language a little bit.
Yes, if I could jump in just from the staff standpoint. I agree. I think there's a little bit of just sort of tightening up of the language that I think would help. I think the intent of these goals, that they seem great. They really align, pretty well with what like kind of the department's goals are. And I think, and I certainly think that inclusivity, equity, accessibility for all members of the community is incredibly important. And I think having that as goal number one, that's certainly our goal as a department. And I think not only is that sort of a diversity of offerings and ensuring that folks feel welcome, but I think also, just as far as like how fees are structured, or not, residents access compared to non-residents, people who are differently abled, all those kinds of things. So I think there is a distinction between just ensuring that there's something that's accessible and equitably available to everyone in the community, and that's kind of one set of goals. And then another whole set of goals is just sort of about the offerings, the programs, the classes themselves. So I think that is the difference between 1 and 3. And I think they can be made more clear as you're working through this. And then just the other comment I'd like to make is, and I refer to this, it kind of reads like the department's goals. The department and the staff are really responsible for implementing these programs. So when it comes to like this very first one, providing the high quality services, et cetera, that's really kind of the department's role, is to go ahead and provide and implement these things. The commission's role is more advisory to the city council, kind of setting policy, providing a conduit for public feedback into the process, certainly the commissioners themselves, as well as public commenters. So it seems to be there's a little bit of crossover here where it's not clear, if you didn't see the title, whether this was the commission's work plan or the department's work plan. So as you're kind of working through this, maybe think that through about kind of the two different roles of the commission as compared to the department staff.
Jennifer.
So Sean, I understand your point. I guess when we were discussing this in March, I think we were all of the opinion that there are things that need to be addressed, and that we are a group of eager, willing, relatively intelligent people who would like to help move things forward. And if you have some different language about how that might be conveyed, I think that would be great. I don't think that you intend to imply that we're rubber stamping what staff are bringing to us. I don't think that's your intent at all, but I am trying to figure out like the middle ground here of how can we as a commission make impact in these areas that are of great importance to us. And we understand that our role is different from staff.
Yeah, that's a great point, Commissioner Johnson. And I think it does kind of come down to sort of language. So let's look like the second paragraph here, right, is improve programs and services. So again, that kind of reads like a department goal. And I don't think that the commission should rubber stamp. I think what the commission's role really is defined in the charter and by the council is to advise, provide kind of policy recommendations, provide input and expertise from a community member's perspective to ultimately it's kind of to advise the city council, which then gets translated into direction that the city manager gives to staff or the department head gives to staff to say, for example, we've heard residents really want to do pickleball. The commission heard that pickleball is something we really want to add. The commission advises and makes a recommendation, hey, staff, we think we would like to see some information about pickleball and kind of assess what is the community desire for pickleball. And then the staff turns around and brings forward plans to make it happen, and then does actually go ahead and make it happen if that's the decision that's made. Now that's kind of a fine distinction, but it's kind of an important one as far as which role is kind of with which entity. So I hope I'm not over explaining it, but it's more kind of the relationship between like a city council and a staff, with the exception that the commission is an advisory body to the council.
Can we work on these in real time? Like, is there a Google Doc where we can just like, rather than beating a dead horse, actually just work on these? Or like,
I think that's a great idea, because I think it comes down to, like, I think our discussion, I agree with you, Sarah, because I think it comes down to, especially since we have a guru here with yourself, with the language, with your guidance, Sean, knowing that maybe it's a flip of, we strive to do this, or instead of using like the harder process that feels department, we turn it into more of an advisory, a guidance, and aspirational North Star
recommending.
Yes. So I guess if maybe I agree with you, if would this make sense, Adrian and Sean, that we could discuss whether we like these goals and that maybe we need to tighten up the language and then propose, like work on them in real time? I
think it's a great idea, but Sean, how does like a Google document work in terms of the Brown Act and stuff, or stuff like that?
Well,
are we allowed to do that?
I think it's possible, but I'm not sure if it would proceed quickly, because what I've found is that typically this type of work where you're just kind of getting into language and things might be best performed by a committee. That's just a few people that can just kind of hear the overall consensus of the larger commission, with consulting with staff and hearing from the public, and then say, because I think these 5 goals, I think they're awesome. I think it's just more a question of, rather than it implying that the commission is literally doing these things, and be more accurate to say, well, the commission is advising and recommending and providing policy direction and input on these things.
Well, we could do this, that Sarah just posted to the chat. This could help us at least put some actual language on the paper. Can we do that? Sarah, would you like to read that? And we could have some comments.
yeah, it should read, prioritize equitable and inclusive programs and services. Prioritize equitable and inclusive program and service recommendations that meet the diverse and changing needs of all Menlo Park residents and neighboring communities. So to meet then the recommendations of Sean, we then talk about how we are, rather than acting, we're strategically recommending. So it would be prioritize, and I can rewrite this, prioritize equitable and inclusive program and service recommendations that meet the diverse and changing needs of all Menlo Park residents and neighboring communities. It would read something like that.
The only amendment to suggest is that I was asked in the last city council meeting I went to about the commission's role with neighboring communities, and it is outside the bounds of our commission role, which is resident focused. And so while I think it's up to us to keep it in, we just have to be ready for whoever goes up to the council next, that we may get that question again.
That is what? What's the question?
The neighboring communities. Why is the commission focused on neighboring communities?
I can answer that one.
I'm sure that you can, but that's the question I was asked by the city council.
No, I mean, I understand what you're asking, Christopher. I'm sorry. I didn't get called on.
No,
but
Jennifer, please.
okay. So Christopher, I understand your question. I understand the council's question. And I think that one of the reasons that that was included in one of our goals was that we had talked about being able to try to identify partnerships to be able to offer programs and services we wouldn't otherwise be able to offer. So for example, if you're talking about, this is the one that, you know, I know best. If you're talking about services for individuals with disabilities, Menlo Park is not providing, Menlo Park doesn't have any services that are specific to that population. However, Palo Alto does. Menlo Park might not have enough residents to independently support a program like that. However, if we partnered with another city or a private group or something like that, we might have sufficient people to actually make it cost effective. That was kind of my feeling about what the partnerships was about. Not like going out and talking to Facebook about building a new building, because that's clearly not our role.
That's a great point. And, you know, it may be that that is kind of covered in Goal 4 that talks about forming partnerships to sort of improve, you know, and provide services to the community. I don't know if, Linda, you could post that back up again, because I do think Commissioner Harris raises a point worth attention and consideration, that tagging on the neighboring communities there at the end of that first goal definitely is something that, like, council members have kind of tripped over. And I hear the intent of what you're saying there, Commissioner Johnson, and it may be that since it's covered in 4.
You're referencing the paragraph that we're not discussing. We're talking about the second paragraph that doesn't have anything about, oh, okay, I didn't put the thing in there about neighboring communities.
Oh, Linda just dropped it in from Commissioner Shanks.
Oh, okay, so mine stopped at Menlo Park residents.
So drop it.
It may be advisable to drop it off of there, because I think what Commissioner Johnson, what you described is kind of touched on in number 4.
Yes,
it's
I
really
agree.
talking about partnerships and everything. Yeah.
Is it okay if we're going to move on to the next item, can I hold on a second? Adrian, you took that off of number 1, which was last year's goal, and not the second paragraph, which was the proposed goal? No, wait a minute.
No, so the first paragraph is what Commissioner Shank just proposed. The second paragraph was last year's goal. The third one is what your recommendation was that you sent me. And the fourth goal was also Commissioner Shank's some recommendations.
Sorry, I didn't realize that that one was put in there.
Yeah. So I think it would be, I mean, and we can do this offline also, but I think it would be, you know, do we want to go with 1 or 3? So that's paragraph 1 or 3, or do we need to, you know, merge the 2 or wordsmith?
Well, if I could, while we're smithing, because I think it's actually proceeding relatively quickly, is I think the very first one we're looking at there, prioritize equitable and inclusive programs, etc., is great. And possibly you want to combine that with the second part of that third option right there that says that offerings are available for all abilities, that every resident can be served, and there's equity in delivery of services. I mean, I think that could be tagged on there as well.
That was exactly what I was going to ask. Thank you, Sean.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I would leave off like the improved portion. I would just have it
from offerings.
Go ahead and paste it in. I'll just be a full-on librarian here and just say, I think after the residents, put a comma, and then that, and then the word that, and then offerings is a lowercase o. Just make it one big sentence.
I just want to suggest that tonight's meeting, I think, was a perfect example of neighboring communities. We were approached by the Palo Alto Pickle Club, right? And many of those people are, in fact, Menlo Park residents who are saying, hey, we're part of the Palo Alto Pickle Club, but we'd kind of like to do it in Menlo Park. So I think that's a perfect example of what we're discussing here in terms of neighboring communities.
Yeah. So how do we feel about this more robust statement that focuses on equity and inclusivity?
So we're talking about the top one that has
That's
been
the
put
top
together.
one that has been put together, that I do think is at, you know, more of a recommendation type statement. It focuses on inclusivity, diversity, the everyone, and the One Menlo Park type of concept that we like.
I think it looks fine. I would just recommend maybe we have a volunteer who does some additional wordsmithing, so it just reads a little more smoothly.
And that could probably happen between now and the next meeting. You know, you could always adopt it at the next meeting after some of that wordsmithing is taking place. If the intent is there and the commission is kind of consensus, like, yeah, that's what we want to say.
There should be a that between recommendations and meet in the first sentence, please. That meet. And then put a period after residents. And then it
Get
should
rid of my librarian comma.
Sorry, and then it should read confirm.
So just to go down the rabbit hole there on that. So to say confirm that offerings are available for all ability, does that mean all offerings? Because I think, you know, not all offerings are going to be available to all abilities. You know, there are offerings that are accessible for people with all abilities, but you know, I think not everything is. So I just, again, getting into the wordsmithing, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. We just want to be cautious about that.
It doesn't say confirm that all offerings are available for all abilities. It says that confirm our offerings are available for all abilities.
You're meaning that we have something for everyone, not everything is available for everyone.
That's exactly right.
Available for all abilities so that more residents can be served.
I would argue that every Menlo Park resident should be able to be served by something.
Yeah, I agree. I think every is probably more in the spirit of it. Yeah.
So that every, are we thinking that we're going to be able to serve every single resident in Menlo Park?
We're trying to.
It's aspirational.
Right.
That's the purpose. I mean, that's, I think, what Sean was mentioning. We're trying to define ourselves. We're different from a department that we're not actually delivering these. We're advising to that is our goal.
Shoot. Uh-oh.
I love this goal. I just think it's wonderful.
Well, so if we can do some, you know, if we feel it needs to be tightened up, can we look at some of the other goals too? Because I think we do have a consensus that we really like this one. And maybe it's just
Yeah,
a word.
Linda, you can cut the last 3 paragraphs if you want, because it sounds like
Just the last two, this one and this
The
one?
last three. Just leave the
The last.
first. Yeah, thank you. Ooh. Okay, and then we can look at two. Yep, two.
So goal number 2. Oh, yeah, this could use some help because this was my proposed language. And I'm not a writer, I'm a math person. But the spirit of what I was trying to bring to this was that just to remind people, when we had the retreat, we're looking at our facilities. We want them well maintained. We want them accessible. I put connectivity and usage by a diverse population. Some of the things we talked about was like Wi-Fi in the parks, ways that people can be able to collaborate, be together, do things, feel a sense of community. And then the other thing was we talked a lot about like zero waste, being more eco-conscious, sustainability. I know when we designed the restroom, sustainability was something that was important to us.
We
Yeah.
designed that bathroom like 3 years ago. Like,
I know,
whatever.
But we still want things to be anyway. And then also the idea of just making sure, because we have limited uses of space, that we're being creative in the way that we're using them, and kind of the idea of bringing pickleball back. We've got some space. How other ways can be creative to make sure that we're using them to the best of our ability. So that's what I tried to word there. If anyone would love to refine that.
If I could just make one, I think what you've written is great. I would just offer one suggestion, which would be to change ensure to something like provide advice and recommendations to ensure, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems to me that we work, there's no way to ensure. We're going to work towards ensuring, focus on, but I think the absolutism of ensure is I mean, I think we want to work towards that, certainly.
Yeah, so I like the idea of provide recommendations that ensure, right? Can we say that? Or that provide recommendations that, maybe it's not as strong as ensure, but.
I think that's fine right there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because again, it's just a little more clear about, exactly the role. I think it does provide, to Commissioner Bryan's point about, it's aspirational to some extent. So.
Mm-hmm. And we also talked about, every park having a restroom. Again, aspirational, because that doesn't currently exist, but normal human body functions. We want people to use our parks. These are some things that we think would really make them extremely usable. So hopefully it incorporated a lot of the things that we felt strongly about when we use a facility, or what we want out of a facility or a park.
In this one, we target a diverse population, but I think what we mean is all residents in this particular one. Whereas in number 1, we specifically call out equity and inclusiveness. This one, to me, like, we want to do this for all residents.
That's a good point.
True, and the goal 1 really does cover the diversity, equity, inclusivity goal. So you could replace a diverse population with by every resident or something like that.
I'm supportive of that. And it's cleaner. Does anyone else have any comments about this or changes, or like it, don't like it?
I think it's strong. I think it's very strong.
Yeah, it looks good.
Great, Sarah, I like that from you.
Very strong.
Okay, let's move on to 3, which has us thinking about 1, but I think we've defined the difference of this. This was unchanged, correct, Adrian, from the last?
Correct. This is one that we had when we did the 2-year goals. Yep.
I mean,
so I would just offer the same comment about like just the word improve, potentially, adjusting that to be, like provide advice,
suggest
recommendations
improvements
to improve, yeah, that kind of thing.
So maybe we'll again go with provide recommendations or provide suggestions to improvements.
I like recommendations because I think, the commission, you could formally take a vote on a recommendation and formally recommend something, and that does actually carry quite a bit of weight with the city council.
I think my feeling about the language of improve and similar to high quality, improve is kind of this subjective thing, right? I mean, are we not looking to expand? We all want high quality. I mean, I think that kind of goes without saying, right? The point is not to just offer a bunch of shitty classes, pardon my French, but to offer good ones.
Yeah, expand
and to expand offerings. Not that it's kind of implying that what we're offering now isn't good. There may not be enough of it, but I think what we're hopefully offering now is in fact good, and we just want to do more of it.
I think that's a good point. When we look at it from sort of a how do we measure success and what we're doing, and continuous improvement and all of that, it's like what was good last year may not be good anymore. And it's more about how do you adapt to the changing needs of the community. Certainly if you're deficient in some way, then you'd have to improve. I would say I don't think we're deficient. So anyway, just my 2 cents on kind of how we would look at it from the partner perspective.
We could say adapt or enhance, because those are things, like you said, that more keep us nimble and don't lend to, well, we're not actually providing good things, because we are, and we're going to continue to work on that.
I like it. I like it.
How about advise on class and program offerings, venues, partnerships, and sponsorships to increase the quality and accessibility? So instead of improve, how about it's just advise on?
I love a nice, tight, succinct sentence.
I'm here to serve.
I like it. I like that. Okay, looks like we have some thumbs up. Anyone else have a comment on that one? Okay, so I looks like we can move on. I'm excited to get to the new one too, because I know that was a hot topic for us. So this one also was not changed, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the initiatives, partnerships, and projects. So again, we had partnerships in another one, correct?
No, I think you were discussing that when we're talking about like neighboring communities, like that this was actually addressed here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
good.
the only thing on this sentence for me is just, it looks like just kind of like a typo where it says that intersect with the city's park and community services. I might just say parks lowercase, but I don't know. It's just I'm not sure. I don't know if park should be capitalized there because it's not part of the department's name or anything like that.
And then Linda, I think you said ADAS, yeah. But you're right. I think the word partnerships is in number 3, but I think it was referencing improving the quality of programming.
Yeah, whereas this one, sorry, I'm looking more, the spirit of this, if we look back to, is the idea that Facebook wants to do something with us, that other departments or other initiatives, tunnel under, Middle Avenue, things like that, that we're engaging and supporting and advising on those, which are very interesting and things that we like to work on and think add value to Menlo Park.
Exactly, like expanding capacity through partnerships. And yeah.
Aren't potential partnerships part of an initiative? Support initiatives and projects that intersect with the city's parks and community services, resulting in well-coordinated efforts to meet the needs of residents, of all residents.
Well, sometimes the partnerships come the other way. So that's the only thing that like. Initiatives sound like to me initiative that it's an initiative of some part or commission or something of
San Mateo County, for example.
San Mateo versus, hey, Arriaga developing over there is willing to give X amount of money if we can come together with a plan to create this, tunnel, something like that. I feel like that is like a partnership reach out from private or something else. That's the way I read it. I don't know if people have other.
Well, why don't we then say public and private partnerships? Why don't we be more specific about that if that's what we're discussing?
I think it's a benign word. I think it can go or it can stay. I don't think. I mean,
go ahead, sorry.
I just think either way, it could stay or go.
What if you use like a synonym, like collaborations? Since partnerships, the word appears in the previous goal. Just to get the idea of working with other groups, because there's initiatives, which is maybe something larger that we jump onto. There's collaborations or partnerships where it's maybe a little bit more bilateral, and then there's just projects.
I like that. Because there truly are some where it's both of us kind of coming together 50-50, whatever it is. You need both sides or it won't happen.
Agreed.
It's good.
You like it, Sarah?
Yeah, clearly.
Anyone
I
else?
can literally hear crickets somewhere on the audio.
I think that means good. Well, can we talk
I think
about
it's a sprinkler system. I can't, I'm not going to move and go inside.
Shall we talk about communication? Does anyone else have any thoughts before we move on? All right, communication. Take it away and read this one.
Well, I'll speak to this, and this is a draft. It's on number 5, Linda, if you can scroll down. So we had discussed, and I've been discussing for a while, that a lot of our program offerings are only as good as the people who know about them. And I think that there is a great deal that we can do as a commission to advance the visibility of our programs, as well as a commission, as well as a city, to proactively communicate what our parks and recreation by definition is, what we offer, what we can serve. And so what I wrote here and would appreciate feedback on is a goal of to communicate and market Menlo Park locations and recreation program offerings in order to increase the awareness of our city green spaces, our unique outdoor offerings, and the breadth of programs that are provided throughout the year to a broader audience. Could use some help, but the point being is that we as a commission are evangelists and amplifiers of our programs. We have a responsibility to be a part of the stewards of this messaging. And I think that we also need to give guidance to the city team, as well as the city at large, about how to most effectively give voice to all of the great offerings that we provide.
Should we list the methods in which we will do this, or is that?
No, I don't advise that we do, Peter, just because they're so ever changing. So I think that that would go into the objectives that we would unpack, such as social media, you know, a calendar of quarterly events, monthly events. I started to get into like the cadence of it related to the frequency. And then I thought that that sort of got us painted into a corner, excuse me.
Okay.
That's my thinking. But if you guys, that was a strong response in a Peter no. So
What do you think about the word facilities instead of locations? Do you
Why not both? Why not a comma?
So to kind of build on what Mark is suggesting is this, and then also what Sean had mentioned earlier about an advisory role. This could be advise on communications and marketing of parks, facilities, and recreation program offerings.
May I suggest that I feel like as a public group, that to me, marketing kind of connotates this kind of commercial thing. I think we'd like to help communicate and promote Menlo Park facilities, locations, and recreational programs.
That's good.
Somehow, I don't know, somehow the word market, and I use it often and professionally, but it somehow seems to me that it's less appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a great observation, you know, and I think this is sort of out there in the zeitgeist right now. You know, we are a government agency and a public service, you know, first and foremost. And so there is that distinction between, you know, like marketing, sort of a for-profit kind of vibe versus really a service to the public. So thank you for bringing that up.
Commissioner Harris, can you repeat the beginning for Linda? I think you said, did you say advise on communication
Yeah, but you know, maybe it should be different. I mean, what I'm hearing in tonight's conversation is that the role of this commission is advisory, and we should stick to that. At least that's what I'm hearing tonight. And so, and the prior ones that we've just edited build on that. This one has a more active role, right? Communicating and promoting. Maybe that's okay for us. Or is it more of advisory to the, you know, the community services wing of the department, right? Is it more of us advising, you know, Sean and Adrian and Todd and everyone? Or is it, couldn't we have a more active role?
I think it can be both, since, you know, I talked about the other ones. But I think Commissioner Shank's point and intent here is well taken, which is that, you know, the commissioners are ambassadors for, you know, the services that we provide, really the public contact to the community. So I think the active role is absolutely within your wheelhouse. I think it's a question of what the commission wants that to be, the role that you assume. Certainly the department, we're doing that type of activity as well, but it absolutely can be both.
It seems to me that in an advisory capacity that we'd like to help. So it's both, like you say, Sean, we're doing both. We're advising and we're somehow proactive. So we're really, in that sense, helping to communicate and promote those facilities, those locations, and those recreational programs.
Thanks, Mark. And I'm thinking back to some comments that Sarah's made a while ago of wanting to contribute, right, to the department's communication efforts and providing guidance and help as needed to promote all of the things that are in that sentence, right? And so I don't think that we were thinking that the commission independently, right, would communicate and promote.
Yeah, I think it would be a mistake to kind of indicate that it was all on us.
Right.
This brings up, like a good tactical illustration of this would be like the social media platform Nextdoor, right? So that's something that as the government agency, we have kind of limited access to blast various neighborhoods in Nextdoor, but certainly each of the commissioners, you all have sort of your own networks, and that could be a very coordinated effort to kind of amplify a message that as a commission and as a department, we would like to go get out there. And through your roles, just as, homeowners and residents in the community, you have that access to those networks. So that's just one tactical example of how that coordination could occur.
So maybe it's something like contribute to the communication and promotion of Menlo Park facilities, locations, and so forth.
Can you say that again, Christopher?
I think it, Christopher, what about contribute to the communication strategy?
I love it.
Love it.
To quote Jennifer Baskin from her chat, I love it.
Right there, yeah. How's that?
I'll say it again too. I love it. And I think it's adapting with, it's part of the thing. I mean, we have a certain environment right now where a different type of communication is needed to access residents, different types, right? So this makes us nimble and makes us, gives us, the North Star that, well, again, when we can talk to everyone face to face and see each other at park, we can use signs and smoke signals and shake hands. But right now, we might have to be a bit more digital.
I think they're strong and that we should be proud of these.
So Sean, one question that I have, can the commission approve these tonight, or should we bring them back next meeting for them to finalize?
I think actually because of the kind of brilliant suggestion that Commissioner Schenk brought up of let's just wordsmith it right on the screen right here for anyone who's here to see, and it was an agendized item, the commission could absolutely adopt these tonight because everything's happened right out in the open.
Do it, let's get her done.
Good work, guys.
Check it off.
Does this require that a motion made, Jennifer?
I think so. So may I ask for a motion to approve the work plan amendments for the 2021 Parks and Recreation Commission work plan goals? Does anyone?
This is Commissioner Harris. I move to accept. I move to accept or make a motion to accept the Parks and Recreation Commission work plan goals and achievements.
Anyone?
Did I phrase that correctly? Because I don't have the paper in front of me.
I'm trying to manage multiple screens of yes.
I'll second that. Whatever you said, I'll second.
Additional wordsmithing required.
All those in favor?
Yes.
You have to announce.
Yes.
Okay, I have to go down and ask each one. So Chair Baskin?
Yes, I accept.
Vice Chair Staley?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Diepenbrock?
Yes, sorry, yes.
Commissioner, okay, Harris, yes.
Yes.
And Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Very good. Motion has passed.
Great work, everyone. So next up, we have regular business to approve the Parks and Recreation Commission minutes for the meeting of July 22, 2020. Has everyone been able to take a look at the attachment? Are there any edits, omissions, changes anyone wants to present? I don't have any.
I make a move to approve them.
Thank you. Does anyone second?
I second that motion.
And Linda, will you have to do a roll call again?
Yes. Okay, Chair Baskin.
Yes, approve.
Vice Chair Staley.
Approve.
Commissioner Bryman.
Approved.
Commissioner Diepenbrock.
Approved.
Commissioner Harris.
Approved.
And Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Motion has passed.
Great. Next up, we have Christopher Harris. Any commissioner report you would like to share with us?
With apologies, I have no commissioner report this evening. I've been locked down in this house.
That is A-okay.
This is the only social interaction I get right here.
I'm not sure you need to apologize for that at this moment.
That is A-okay. Now we have the Library and Community Services Department updates.
Sean, do you want me to go, or what do you?
No, go for it, Adrian.
Oh, okay. The report basically was just pretty general, talking about how the commissions have resumed. Normally we do take off August, but because we had I think a 5-month hiatus and had work to get done, which we are really chugging along tonight, we are meeting in August. Thank you so much. We talked about the expected facility closure. So right now we're anticipating revisiting that in the new year in January 2021. And also talked about the service adaptation. So as Todd talked about the outdoor recreation that we're having, some of the online classes and virtual events that we're doing, as well as some of the services that have continued. So childcare is happening. This past Monday, we just reactivated our after school programs at both Bellhaven After School as well as MCC. And lastly, at the senior center, our numbers for meal delivery have really been increasing. So we're up to 83 deliveries to seniors 3 times a week. We do double meal delivery, as well as have picked up a drop off to a local church serving 25 homeless seniors. So over 540 meals a week are being served. And I think that's about it. The only other thing with the outdoor rec, some of the classes happening are yoga and Tai Chi, jujitsu, and personal training. Sean, did you have anything else to add?
No, that really covers it. The only thing I would add is just real appreciation for Adrian and the work that she has been doing on diversity, equity, and inclusivity citywide. She's actually taking the lead on a citywide project to really address institutional bias and racism throughout the organization and the community, and also her incredible efforts to help keep our employees and the people we serve safe during COVID-19. So thank you for that, Adrian.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, if that is it, it is 8:46 p.m. and we can adjourn the August 26th meeting. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
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 Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Thanks.